everyone, and welcome to the EFG Show. My name is Stevie Dutzman. I am your host. I am also the founder of EngageFamilyGaming.com, and I am joined by one, Jeffrey Walker from the frozen north, repping the Vikes today, scolding all that shenanigans. And you are one of the community managers for EngageFamilyGaming.com. And so how do you think about them firing like everybody yesterday in the WWE?
I mean, it's typical from back when they used to do yearly firings after WrestleMania season was always a big year. This one's a little different. There's some people there that I am surprised got released.
Like
I'll name a few that I think the OC, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson.
That was a surprise.
Kurt Angle was a surprise because I mean he has that Legends contract. Lance Storm, I mean, I follow very closely. He just got hired 4 months ago for them.
Yeah.
And same with the Hurricane. Gregory Helms is also, he's pretty prominent in their backstage roles right now. It's like, notice the one backstage person who didn't get fired was Road Dogg, one of Triple H's buddies.
Are you surprised? I am not.
I'm not. It's just... We don't have to go into that, but
I am not surprised. With that said, they canned a bunch of guys today. So everybody, welcome to the EFG show. This is as normal. Jeff and I talk about wrestling for a few minutes while we wait for everybody to show up. So we thought it was a slow news week, and what really happened is it was less of a slow news week and more of there were just lots of smaller stories that kind of all built up into each other. So Jeff and I will go over the big stuff. So thank you very much for joining us. It is Thursday. We are all still on lockdown, and Jeff and I are here to entertain you. One thing, Jeff, speaking of entertaining people, that has definitely been entertaining people has been your bracket, because we have gotten all sorts of engagement, people coming out of the woodwork, joining the debates. A lot of people that have never really participated in EFG content are really getting into it. And we are down to the Final Four.
We are. We're almost there. We are 3 matches away from determining the best.
Phone in front of my face.
We are 3 matches away from determining the best NES game of all time.
As chosen by you, the people. Not by me, but chosen by you, the people.
Oh. I'd just like to say it's probably the definitive list. This is set in stone.
Set in stone, no questions asked. I'm not going to argue with it. Listen, we let the people decide. We can redo these votes again whenever we want, because we have the brackets. We can just do it. So, what are the 4 games that are in the storied Final Four?
So, the Final Four we have from the Mushroom Kingdom region. Our champion ended up being the number 1 seed, Super Mario Brothers 3. Okay. And it beat out some big games to get here. Dragon Warrior, Bubble Bobble, Castlevania 3, and Final Fantasy. It did not...
That was close.
...have an easy route. Final Fantasy was close. Castlevania 3 was close. From the Hyrule region, we had the number 1 seed, Legend of Zelda, which beat out Adventure Island, Battletoads, Excite Bike, and Tetris to advance into the Final Four.
Yep.
And then in the SR3A8 region, our number 1 seed, Super Mario Brothers, advanced by defeating Rygar, Mega Man 4, Kirby, and its own sequel, Super Mario Brothers 2. And that was kind of a controversy.
Yeah, there were a number of people who were not pleased with the voting on this one, but the people spoke.
Yeah, you know what? And I agree. I think Super Mario Brothers is a better game than Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah, I don't particularly care for Super Mario Brothers 2, but I'm not going to argue with anybody. I mean, the reality is if the votes were reversed, I also wouldn't argue it. This was all done purely by votes.
Yep. And then our final game that advanced to the Final Four in the Corneria region, we had Mega Man 2, which defeated Spy Hunter, Rampage, DuckTales, and the number 1 seed Contra to advance.
Now, this is where there were some people that were trying to call me on some shenanigans, and they were trying to give me some attitude I'm not going to name any names, but there were some concerns that someone shared it into a fan group and that was thus tainting the results. I just want to make it clear, there are no cops. I encourage everyone to share, to market their favorites, and if you happen to have access to a retro community, by all means get them involved, because that the point is to get more people to vote on these things. So in this case, maybe it was a little bit of shenanigans, and I can appreciate that. However, that's what this is all about, right? So I mean, and also, exactly, they're public polls. We want people to share them. We want them to go all over the place. Because, I mean, at the core of this, admittedly, it's Inside Baseball, this is a promotional effort for us. We're all having fun, but the idea is more organic reach helps the site grow and eventually makes further, so that's what this is all about.
And going off of that, I mean, every day I would share them into our community page and just to get more people to see, but I'd also share them on my homepage. And it doesn't tell us how many people vote based off of the shares, which I wish it could give us those statistics. That would be awesome to see.
That would be great data.
But I shared, I think it was the Legend of Zelda or it was a Super Mario Brothers 3 poll against Final Fantasy, and one of my friends from college actually commented on it and on my post and said, this is the hardest one yet, which tells me that he's been voting all along when I've shared them out.
Yeah, I have a number of people that came out to me and said that they were looking at them. So good on you, Jeff. You did a good job, and we are already hard at work on the next one. So our other community manager, Mike, is working on one for PlayStation. And so we're Jeremy, who is, I'm sure, listening on the other side of the room, because Kate is here. Hi, Kate. Thank you for joining us for the EFG show. I'm sure he's listening. He has submitted a big old list for a board game one, which I think was another great idea. He gave me a really good rough draft, and it needs some updates, obviously, just because yours went through some iterations too, Jeff. So, but now it's just a matter of figuring out what we don't want to do is overdo it. We want to make this an event, and we don't want to just stop and then just roll right into them because it's not our only content. So we're going to let people rest a little bit. Jeremy's not listening.
Let me rest.
Yeah, we got to let Jeff rest. He's got like a real job that does like real stuff. So we will let you rest. But in the meantime,
joys of being an essential employee.
Yeah, well, you are essential to EFG. I'll tell you that much. So thank you very much. Okay, so let's just get right to work. So we did the Final Four. So congrats on that. My understanding, you had said you're gonna do some some little posts to celebrate the Final Four a little bit before we get to,
So if I do it correctly, I'll send out our normal congratulations to the last game in advance, and then I'm going to do a post for each. So the next 4 days, so that'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So the next poll will probably go live Monday at 9 p.m.
All right, sounds good to me.
And then we'll do one on Monday, one on Tuesday, and then we'll have to wait a day, and then we will.
So by next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Know.
Yeah, I think if I'm doing my math correctly, the championship poll should end as the EFG show goes live.
And then we'll just have a whole celebration where we talk about it. I think that'll be a super fun thing to do. We should make sure that we do that. So
yes. Okay.
So Final Four, and what we should also do is take the text from your posts and turn them into a blog post for the EFG. I will do that because that sounds like a great the top 4 NES games sounds like a perfect post for the blog. So, Jeff, speaking of things that you do for the website, while I just sit here and talk into a microphone, you also compile for the EFG Facebook page a list of video games that come out each week that are family friendly.
Yes, I do.
And this week had the wonderful opportunity to follow up Final Fantasy VII Remake. Jeff, what do you got for me, buddy?
So, not a lot.
Sure.
On Tuesday, April 14th, we had Boot Hill Bounties for Switch, Fishing Sim World Pro Tour Collector's Edition for PS4 and Xbox One, and Path of Giants for Switch.
Sure.
On Wednesday, April 15th, we had Doubles Hard for Switch. Thursday, April 16th, we had Billion Road for Switch. Can Androids Pray Blue for Switch. Finding Teddy 2 Definitive Edition for Switch. Galaxy Warfighter for Switch. Kawaii Dethu Desu for Switch. Later Daters for Switch. Lost Artifacts Golden Island for Switch. Save Your Nuts for Xbox One and Switch.
Save Your Nuts. I believe that's based on a license. Jenna, isn't there a cartoon? Wasn't there like a cartoon movie?
No, the Nut Job is what you're thinking of.
Oh. No.
I will say the animation looked similar because I have to check. I mean, I had to check all these ESRB ratings, so I usually go into the game's page just to check in because you never know what Save Your Nuts is going to be rated.
I mean, that's fair.
But
it's physics-based competition game. Okay. All right.
With about squirrels saving nuts. Like acorns.
I'm bringing up the trailer, and then we're going to watch it as a collective. Because we need to experience this together. So bear with me, everybody. And let's see, where do we go? Whoa, it was loud. Okay. That was loud. All right. And here we go. So let's watch this together, everybody. Okay, so that's a dachshund. Oh, let's get rid of this ad.
While you're getting that already, I've noticed as I play our video on mute so I can follow the comments, and they now have captions on Facebook videos.
Whoa. All right. So this looks really weird, guys. This is like a many-minute trailer. I'm good, everybody. I think we did what we had to do. So everybody, I guess that's Save Your Nuts. What else we got?
Also on Thursday, so today we had Super Pixel Racers on Switch, The Fox Awaits Me on Switch, and Jed on Switch. And tomorrow, Friday, April 17th, we have A Fold Apart on Switch, Cryo Gear for Xbox One, Freakout Calamity TV Show for PS4 and Switch, Hyper Jam for Switch, Purrs in Heaven for Switch, Rover Wars for Switch, Sinker for Xbox One, and Theme Park Simulator for Switch.
Sure. Great.
So
what was your pick of the week?
My pick of the week was Billion Road.
Okay,
so,
why? Expound.
So, I'm trying to remember what the game's called. So, there's a game on the Wii, Fortune Street.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I have not played it, but I've watched plays.
I have, in fact, played Fortune Street.
It looks great. It's a mix of Monopoly and Mario Party without the mini games.
All right. Okay.
And then there's another game that I have right here. It's close. That I played on my PlayStation 1 called Board Game Top Shop.
Wow.
That
okay.
it reminds me of. Funny fact about this game, I picked it up for $5 at a retro game store because I thought it looked interesting.
All right.
And it's like Monopoly. You go around, you collect properties, but in this case it looks like you're collecting stores and you're picking things to sell at those stores, and if people land, they have to buy something from your stores, and it just looks like fun. It looks like a fun game that maybe if you have some older kids, download it, do some play on it. You're stuck inside.
Sure.
It's a virtual board game.
Sure. Sounds good to me. So I'll just go ahead and agree with you on that one. It's tough for me to really think of anything following last week.
Yes.
So I'll give them all a break. Although really we have no idea what's coming out. Like really video game releases are going to start slowing down. So
there were some games announced today that I thought they're being hopeful.
What was announced today?
Crisis
Oh, yeah, but those are remasters.
remaster, and then Battle for Bikini Bottom. I mean,
Oh, yeah, no, it's a remaster. So, like,
Yeah.
I think remaster. The SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom coming out in June, I think that's a lock, and I think that's going to be especially if you like SpongeBob. I mean, that's just a goofy, stupid 3D platformer. So, that game is going to be fine. And it's a remaster, so I'm sure they'll be able to get it taken care of. Not to minimize the amount of work that goes into remasters, but like it's not the same amount of effort as building something brand new. So we also found an interesting resource full of from GameSpot.com talking about some of the free games that are available right now. And we'll be referencing some of that because who doesn't like free video games? So specifically, and I think this is the biggest deal out of this whole announcement, is if you own a PlayStation 4, starting the 16th, which is today, right? Today's the 16th? Yes.
Yes.
And going in through May 5th, the Nathan Drake Collection and Journey are both free for anyone. No PlayStation Plus, no special rules. You don't lose them at the end of that time. They are just giving them away as part of their Play at Home initiative, which I think is very cool. I think it is a really, this is really forward thinking from Sony. I hope other companies follow through. Huge portions of the audience for all of these consoles are stuck in the house. And, man, who doesn't want some free video games? Journey is one of the best video games ever made. We put it in the list of our games of the last decade. And if you like Indiana Jones, Uncharted is basically Indiana Jones with not Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Fun fact, they're also rated T, and we know this. I discovered on the EFG show that those games were not rated M. They're, in fact, rated T. I just always assumed that they were rated M.
Yes, also for PS Plus right now is Uncharted 4, so you can play the whole series now if you
happen to be a PS Plus owner.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, realistically. Man, I'm definitely going to be downloading these games, or at least adding them to the collection. We already own Journey. We've played it dozens of times. I guess the real question is, Jeff, do you think this is it? Or do you think we got more coming?
I think it depends on how long this stay-at-home order happens across our nation. That's the thing.
And across the world, really.
And across the world, yeah. I mean, it'd be great if, PlayStation started. And usually, it seems like PlayStation is always the last to do something.
Yeah. I would have expected, it sounds to me like Microsoft would have done that, but I feel like charging $1 for Game Pass is kind of the same thing. Like, I know that PlayStation is like giving these games for free, but for anyone, like if you have an Xbox One and you are just stumped on what to do, your kids need some things to do, pay $1, and really, $10 a month. I know money is tight for everybody, but $10 is not impossible to come by. And if you can swing that, $10 a month, $1 for the first month unlocks. There's over 100 games on there, and I know some of them, in fact, I would say a lot of them are rated M. However, there are plenty of, they've got Ticket to Ride is on there, Pandemic is on there, Carcassonne, I believe, Carcassonne is in there, so there's some board games, a couple of Viva Pinatas, all the racing games.
The Rare Replay, which has a lot.
Rare Replay. NBA 2K20 is in Xbox Game Pass, okay? And listen, the NBA 2K games are role-playing games. So if you haven't even a passing interest in basketball, and by a passing interest, I mean literally if basketball does not offend you, it is a really cool role-playing game where you get to go and either role-play as a player or as a coach or as a GM, basically, and kind of go through it. And to get that for $1, not to mention all the Halos, and so it's a great value. But it is not free, so it technically doesn't go on the site. But
it is listing really cool. Some free Xbox One games, and I don't know if you know how to get them, but it says Crackdown, Crackdown 2, and 2 Human are all free right now on Xbox One.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're not games with gold, so
I don't know. I clicked the link to see what happened. They are. They're in the Xbox 360 store. I mean, they might just be being sold for free. I don't really know.
they might. Yeah, the 360
Yeah, they're
store
free
is
right
weird.
now.
Okay, so
So if you're on
Crackdown
the
and Crackdown
Xbox
2
store,
are rated M, so
yeah.
I
So,
just noticed they were listed as free as well.
but
So it
games
looks
for
like
gold, we've talked about all those before, and so they show up on this list. Some other things. I mean, if you just go and I'll put the link actually in the chat, because if you're a PC gamer, there's a ton of free stuff from either Good Old Games or right now on the Epic Game Store. The one that really matters is for the grown-ups is Just Cause 4, which is just this wild playground, like physics shooter with like, crazy weather and all sorts of other banana stuff. And that's free right now on the Epic Game Store. But you can get Assassin's Creed 2 on Uplay. And this is one that I want to bring up a lot because, and I've mentioned it on the Engage Family Gaming podcast that's going to come live tomorrow morning. But if you have Amazon Prime, which almost everyone does, give or take, then that means you have Twitch Prime. And a lot of people see that Twitch Prime and they go, okay, well, I don't watch content on Twitch. I don't watch streamers, so that doesn't really impact me. And that's actually not the case because, number one, if you play any of the big free-to-play games like World of Tanks or World of Warships or League of Legends or Dota or any of the games in that Path to Exile, any of the games in like that genre, Teamfight Tactics, and even Magic the Gathering Arena and Hearthstone have been included. Number one, every month they give out new free stuff in all those games. Smite is another great example. And they're skins, or it might be content packs, things like that. But they also put out a series of actual, like, legit video games for PC. And right now, 2 of them are actually really kind of cool, and one of them is interesting. So the 2 that are really cool are Turok, which is a remake of an N64 game, which is a dude fighting dinosaurs with a bow and arrow, which is kind of neat.
So
Go ahead.
So there's a Reddit thread out there where people list a game that they've heard of, but they remember from their childhood or whatever, but they can't remember. Maybe you can help me on this. Okay. I played a Turok game, but it was not Turok. It was not Turok 2. And all I remember is you had all these characters you could choose from. You got changed into monkeys, and that's what I remember.
Okay. It was Turok. There was like Turok something Rage War or something.
Maybe that was it. I just remember playing that growing up.
Yeah, Turok Rage Wars is what you are talking about. And that was the 4-player shooter in the Turok universe. This is not that.
Okay. Oh. I didn't think it was, but I'm just like, I need to play the original Turok. So this is the only...
Oh, we got breaking news in the chat. All right, I don't know how to get this. Jeremy, could you Facebook that to me? I don't have Facebook open. How do I get this? All right, so apparently according to a leak that Jeremy, who I trust his sources, so it's on Tom's Guide, Nintendo Switch, 2 screens. Let's look at this. We got breaking news. All right, I think we found it. Okay, so Nintendo might be working on a dual-screen Nintendo Switch, according to data gleaned by a security researcher in the console's 10.0.0 firmware update. Mike Heskin, a self-confessed reverse engineer and InfoSec enthusiast. How about that for, like, I just call myself a dork. Like, I refer to I'm a podcast host, whatever, a reverse engineer and InfoSec enthusiast. Now that, like, I call myself like the king of the dorks because I LARP. Like, he might just be like a cut above me. Okay, so he found that he claims is preliminary support for a new model of the Switch codenamed NX-BCD. Heskin claims that the support is for a second screen. In a nutshell, this tidbit of information could translate into Nintendo working on a new Switch that has a clamshell-like design and holds a second screen, much like a Nintendo 3DS. I mean, okay, so a dude who knows a lot about hacking looked at the detail and found a code name for a new Switch. That could be neat.
Sure. That could. Or they could have just found data that will never be used, because that happens all the time.
Sure. I mean, as Jeremy said, grain of salt. That could be interesting.
Yeah,
you know what? We've had them talking about, a new Switch model. And it would be interesting if a Switch Pro or whatever, rather than having it be like more powerful, it just had two screens. That'd be interesting. We'll find out soon enough. So anyway, Turok is one of the free games on Twitch Prime games, and the other one is Earthlock, which is a really cool role-playing game that is meaty. It's got some decent strategy to it. Kate, I think you would actually kind of dig it because it's, kind of delightfully old school, but some of the character designs are neat. And it's on Switch. It's on everything now, but the fact that it's included for free with Amazon Prime, I think there are a lot of people who just assume they pay for their Amazon and they get it every year, and they don't take full advantage of all the stuff that comes with it, and Amazon counts on that.
Yeah, I mean, most people get their Amazon Prime because they want that free 2-day shipping.
Yeah.
I know the $120 we spend a year, we probably, if we would have paid for shipping for everything that gets shipped to our house, it would be way over $120. We barely watch Prime Video. They even have Prime Music, Twitch Prime. I know last year Twitch Prime was giving out a deal where you got a free year of Nintendo Switch Online.
Yep. Kate put it in the chat that she was looking for the name, and it is called Earthlock. I'm actually going to post a trailer from YouTube in here for you. It's a cool role-playing game. I enjoyed it when I played it. And YouTube is being obnoxious. Oh, goodness. When you look up Earthlock, it... Oh, you know why? It's because I was dumb and I didn't put the C in there. Because Earthlock is apparently like a soil stabilizer.
Oh, interesting.
Go figure. That's not what I'm talking about.
We're always educating you on the EFG show.
Y'all are showing me stuff. I'm gonna link to a review from another outlet, but really it'll just give you an idea as to what game I'm talking about. Wow. Okay, so there we go. So that is Earthlock. So yeah, bunch of free games. How about that?
That's cool.
So next, we got to talk about it. Let's talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake.
All right.
So you and I are both playing this game.
Yes.
What chapter are you on?
I am on chapter 14.
Okay, and I'm on chapter 13. So
yeah,
for
and
everybody
I believe
watching,
it's almost to the end. I believe there's 18.
There are 18 chapters. I confirmed that. So
yeah.
Just for everybody, we are not going to spoil this. There will be no spoilers in our discussion. Even though it's of a billion-year-old game, they've added so much content that it is actually possible to do spoilers. I know there are some people making jokes, but no, they added a lot because they took what was like 5 hours of game and then made it into like what's going to be like a 30 to 40 hour role-playing game.
Yep. I'm at 21 right now with 5 chapters left to go.
So our discussion is going to be in 2 parts. First, I'm going to just share some disclaimers about this game that I think are important, and then we're going to talk about just our overall impressions. And this is something that I talked about on Twitter, and I've talked about it on Facebook a bit, and I talk about it with Amanda at length during the Engaged Family Gaming podcast that is going to go live tomorrow morning. But it's worth talking about it with the YouTube crew. I absolutely 100% think the ESRB got it wrong. This should not be a T-rated video game, or at the very least, I think that Peggy got it right, because Peggy called it a Peggy 16 game, which means it is just barely below a rated M game, and I think that is fitting appropriately. And jump in whenever you want, Jeff, and tell me where you think you disagree if you do. So there are two primary points that I think. Number one, I think the language is excessive.
The language is a lot.
And, I'm not being puritanical. People who know me and know me outside of my content creation know that I don't have a problem with foul language. I swear when I swear. And so that's a thing. But there's something to be said about I know when it's appropriate to be T-rated, right?
Yeah.
And so I can dial it back. This game, Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 1, there was language in it, but the big difference is they didn't talk during combat. And I think battle chatter is an area where things are a little bit much. Do I think it's a bad game? Do I think it ruins it? Is this a deal breaker for me? No, absolutely not. But they definitely cuss a lot. And there's a few people in this audience and people that I know that as soon as they heard me say, oh, wow, they swear a lot, they were like, well, I guess I can't play this game because language really matters to them. They're not like a language-neutral house.
Even with the swearing, T-rated games have some swearing, but these are games that on network TV would be censored out.
Yep.
A lot.
Yeah.
So it's not like, it's not like they're just saying, like that urban legend. I don't know if it's true, but where they say that, the PG-13 movies allowed one F word.
I think that actually is true.
Is that true?
That is true. I don't know. You know what? I haven't really thought about it because I don't really think about the language. What's interesting about it is I rarely think about the language in the content that I create, or that I think about it all the time in the content I create, but I don't really think about it in the content I consume. But it was so off-putting in Final Fantasy VII Remake that I couldn't not think about it, right? And so that's a big piece of it. I think
and it's off-putting because you go in, you're like, I'm playing a rated T game. This is a game that has a rating that I can, show to my, community, that I can show to my audience. But really, with what we post on the site, we can't show.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't. That's one thing that I do know. I can't stream this game.
Can't stream it. We probably, won't have a written review, maybe, unless.
No, we're gonna have a written review.
We? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. But no, we just can't. I can't put video. There's just because I just can't. But we're gonna have a written review. There's no sense.
You were
not doing
surprised that the Uncharted series was rated T. This went way farther than that series.
Realistically, and I mean this truthfully, had I known, we would have been reviewing the Uncharted games all along. I just absolutely assumed, and because of that assumption, I just never even looked at it. And here, Final Fantasy games I've always talked about and presented to my audience as this is the mature stuff. This is the stuff you can let your kids watch. That's like kind of tough but isn't bad, right? It's kind of like Halo. But the thing is, like, the language is really off-putting. Now, Kate and Jeremy both came in and clarified that it is currently true. They have some rules that they got to play around with. Jeremy says one F word as long as it is used as an exclamation and not as a noun, verb, or adjective. That makes sense. So
it does.
But that is a new thing. It used to not be, and they used to. So clearly things are relaxing, and that's That's to be expected. Lots of things are getting more lax, and so. But in this case, it is just so constant and so pervasive, and there's just so much there. Even my kids were like, whoa. Like, Evan is 13, or he's 14, rather.
Yeah.
And he was like, bro. And he's 14. He should be thinking this is awesome. And even he's like, man, that's weird. The other thing, and this is somewhat, the combat is just the combat. And that's where I think they kind of earn their T rating, in that they fight like people-looking things, but at the end of the day,
there's no blood.
You're just whacking around, making numbers pop up, and there are guns and stuff like that. But it's not, there's implied stabbing and stuff like that. But really, it's just kind of cartoony and over the top.
Yeah.
without getting into spoilers, if you have played the original game, you know that there are some scenes involving a character named Don Corleone. And so some of the scenes that involve him in the go ahead, Jeff. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Like in the original, this was like a bit that was like, 45 minutes of gameplay, and it was meant to be funny
and
and
it's
just a little
pixelated
kooky.
and funny. I was uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, actually, Jeremy has a comment about some of the about his daughter, because they. Oh my goodness, I love the profile picture, Jeremy. So he said Morgan, that's his daughter, was put off by the language too, and she felt the combat was really intense to watch, to the point that it was a bit bothersome for her. You know what? Every kid is different, and that's I always say, you know your kids better than me, and so that's why I'm not saying don't play this game, don't let your kids see it. I'm never going to make that judgment call. I just think in this case, the T rating is rated T like The Dark Knight Rises was rated PG-13. Like, really? Because that movie haunts me to this day, and I am a grown ass man. So, the scene, if you play the original Final Fantasy VII, you know there are some scenes with Don Corleone, and they were played off as kind of jokes, and it's just short, right? Like, it's 45 minutes of gameplay tops.
You go in and you confront him and you get out.
Yeah, it's quick. And the in this case, obviously, because of the way that they're doing it, I mean, it was blown up. So it's like an entire chapter of this game. And some of the stuff, specifically the way that the female characters are treated, and some of the specific kinds of violence that are threatened against them, really kind of bothered me. To the point where I was like, okay, this is not a T-rated thing. And I was very glad when it was over, because it made me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
However, I understand how it was all working, and I know what they were trying to do, and I get it. But that's a chapter. Maybe you play that one after the kids go to bed. If you're letting them watch the rest of it. If the language doesn't bother you, I'm trying not to give out spoilers because I don't want to, but if you played the original, then you know that section. And if you
give you guys kind of, if you haven't played the original and this is your first time going through Final Fantasy VII, if you want to be careful for something like that for your kids to see, once they start mentioning that they're going to a place called Wall Street is when I would wait till the kids are in bed.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
There was no spoilers. There was just the name of a section of Midgar. That whole section is very adult oriented. It's the red light district.
Yeah. I think we're good. So, all content warnings aside, this game is phenomenal.
It is amazing. I was just telling, so we started the EFG show a little late because my family and I were going to watch the Disney sing-along, and the hour or so before, I asked my wife, I go, is it okay if I go downstairs? Because I have not been this engrossed in a game in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think about it when I'm not playing it. I'm like, I want to play it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Final Fantasy VII was people who watch the show know that I have no real love for that game. It's not my favorite for a long time. I thought it was my least favorite.
Yeah, it doesn't age well.
Yeah, I don't particularly care for it, but this remake has really made, because I never cared about the characters, any of them.
I never thought, why does everyone love Cloud so much? He's not that great of a character.
And frankly, even still, he's not all that great.
Even still, no.
Like, they haven't really sold.
That was going to be my critique of one of my critiques. Like, I will say the voice acting is one of my favorite parts. It's amazing. All the characters sound as they should, except for Cloud has one emotion.
Well, I think that's just how he is, right? And we'll talk about that in a moment. Jeremy says that Final Fantasy VI should get this overhaul. We'll talk about that in a moment. So,
I have mine. I want to get this overhaul too.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah, I mean, listen, do them all. But so I think here's what we get. Now we know that Cloud is just a jerk. So before, he was kind of quiet. He was like a we had the excuse that he was a cipher. like that he was kind of like you were kind of in him, whatever. He is the oh, excuse me. Jeremy, you and I have had this fight. Jeremy is a Final Fantasy VII apologist and really likes that game and thinks it is in fact the best Final Fantasy game. Jeremy has many, many opinions, and he's wrong, and that's okay.
I was gonna say it's okay to have wrong opinions.
It's okay, and that's fine. I love Jeremy; he's one of my very best friends, and I value his presence in my world. But it's not because of his Final Fantasy opinions. But that's okay. The good news is I'm the guy with the microphone, so I can say what I want. That's my heel persona coming out, Jeremy. But this game actually makes me care about all these characters. I want to get to know them more. I think the voice acting and the writing for Aerith specifically is amazing because she really wasn't much of a character before. No. And, she was just kind of a vehicle for character exploration. And thank you very much. Jeremy forgives our wrong opinions, too. And that's okay. That's what makes video shows go around, is we have to have opinions. And so Aerith was just a vehicle for character development before, and now she is funny. She is charming. I really appreciate and love the relationship that is building between her and Tifa, which was non-existent before. I was actually just about ready to mention that. We got to be careful with spoilers, but they're in the parties together, so yeah. They interact. Whereas before, it was just everybody bouncing off of Cloud, and now there's a lot more of other people bouncing off of other characters, and I think that is really cool. It means that I really can't wait to see what happens in the next sections where they introduce new characters, Cait Sith, and which first off, I can't wait to see what Cait Sith is like, considering, it's weird, but, Cid and, the Red, of these guys.
Red 13?
Red 13? Is it Red 13? Or I don't know.
I think it's 13. Yeah.
I think that's going to be awesome.
He will show up towards the end. He was in the trailer, so.
Yeah. But we get to have him in the party and everything. I just think that this is one of those situations where I actually care about all the characters, whereas before I really didn't. And the water effects. Can we just talk about the water? Because every time there's water flowing in this game, I'm just like, oh my god, this is so good. Okay, so it's Red 13 because it's XIII. So that's 13. So, yeah, I can't wait. I really didn't understand. I don't think I really understood Final Fantasy VII when I first played it. I think what's going to be really interesting is playing through the remake and then going back and playing Final Fantasy VII, the original, with the remake in mind. And I think that's something I might stream, is streaming Final Fantasy VII, the original, because I think that could be really interesting because I really didn't understand the characters or the story, or at least I don't remember understanding it. I played it a long time ago, so I'll do that maybe. But the water effects are so good.
Yes. Just any of the backgrounds, all the different areas, because the original was so dark and grungy. And I mean, it was kind of I will actually go out and say this, a lot of PlayStation 1 games are dark and grungy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same thing with PlayStation 3 games. They're just everything's brown.
Yeah. And they brought so much life. I mean, as, I only played Final Fantasy VII for the first time last year, and I only played up until I got out of Midgar, and I have not gotten farther than that. I may have to go back and play again. Just the great thing about the playing the original game on your PS4, your Xbox One, or your Switch is that you can now speed things up and just have superpowers on all the time, so you can just play through the story if you want to.
Yeah. I don't think I'll be allowed to do that. I think the Davises will specifically Jeremy will give me a little bit of crap for that. So I'll play it for real when I play it when I'm done with all this. But so I highly recommend this game. I don't think it's going to be winning any Game of the Year awards or stuff from us because I just don't think it is eligible outside of maybe one for the grown-ups. But I think it is a fantastic video game. It is so well done. I'm even finished with it. I'm 2/3 of the way through, and I am already chomping at the bit for the hype train that will be at some point between tomorrow and 50 years from now when they announce Final Fantasy VII HD Remake Part 2. You know?
Yeah. Now, how many parts do you think it'll be?
I think 3.
You think 3? That sounds
because
about right. Now, as I said, I haven't played past Midgard, so I don't know like where the good stopping points are from then on. But
I think if my memory serves me correctly, after they leave Midgard, it's still a little linear for a while, but then eventually it kind of opens up. So what I would imagine is that the second part would be the excuse me. What I would imagine would be that the next part would be immediately after Midgard and kind of wandering around going through that linear story part. And there's a ways to go. Admittedly, it kind of all blends in, but that's where it has, the golden saucer and, some of that stuff. And the culmination of that will be all the stuff, I think, or at least the culmination will be what happens to Aerith and then the fallout of that. And then the third game I think would be kind of open worldish, because after that it opens up and then you kind of have like some final dungeons and challenges. So I feel like just kind of opening it up and having it be kind of like an open world game. With that said, they've added so much stuff. Oh, okay. So Jeremy says he thinks part 2 will be up to the ancient temple, which is where the thing happens, and he thinks that it will end before that thing happens. I think that is also very likely, because that would be a great way to not waste character assets. Let's use all these characters and have them all in there and just enjoy it for as long as we can. And I'm interested in seeing more of the characters. I just want to see more.
Yeah, and one thing they've like hidden so much. Like, as I said, I'm not very familiar with Final Fantasy VII, but I have played a little bit, and I'm even noticing some like things. I'm like, I'm noticing some of the monsters. There's a certain boss you fight that is a regular monster that terrifies you when you play the original. Like, you're like, oh no, I'm gonna die, and this thing became a boss this time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game is just so good. It's so good. And all the stuff they've added, I can't wait. And I love the combat system. It is so fun. It is challenging for me because what we have figured out is my problem is my buttons are bad. So I'm regularly like selecting the wrong character. But what are you going to do? I'm enjoying everything.
The only thing about combat I wish they'd add is I really liked the gambit system from 12. Yep. I wish you could do that because like I kind of set up where Tifa is my main black mage, but I always have to go and pick which magic she's going to use. And I wish she could go, oh, this person's weak to ice. I'm just going to cast Blizzard at him.
Yeah, I do wish that there was at least some AI controls, where you could at least be like, use your freaking
or I got
your triangle special or whatever when it's time.
I'm attacking and I'm like, just standing there, I look over and Tifa is literally just standing there. I'm like, all you have to do is mash square, attack, keep attacking.
Yeah. Oh, Jeremy said that it needs more opportunities to grind, and I agree with that 100%. Because this is the kind of game where like I just want more money so I can buy more potions or more Phoenix Downs. And does it get expensive, and it gets expensive to buy the equipment and the materia that you need, and you just don't have a lot of money. So I think that's interesting. I do like there are benches spread throughout the world where you can sit and take a break, and I love how they're always like right before important stuff. So sometimes it's like, oh, we got to rush to go do this thing. Hold on, I got to sit on a bench, and I think it is hysterical.
It's my favorite is I don't know. I started laughing because I sat down on the bench like. Aerith is like, I can't remember. We have to save someone. We need to get going, Cloud. And I go, okay, let me. And I just sit there and I just kind of look at her, and she just stands there as I sit there and take my break.
Yeah, and and the fact that he has to like move the sword out of his way so he can sit down It's just really awesome. So again,
And
everybody,
he looks just like a guy who had a long day at work.
I mean, is really having a long day at work. He is a mercenary for that. So
Yeah.
again, Final Fantasy Remake.
So real quickly, one last question we kind of talked about earlier. If you could pick any Final Fantasy game to get this remake feature, which game would it be?
10.
10?
No,
I
wait,
figured
4,
that'd be...
actually. 4. 10 looks
Okay.
good as it is. I would rather 4.
I
love
would.
those guys.
I think 10 would be great just to get rid of 10's battle system, but that's just my opinion.
You shut your damn mouth. 10's battle system is amazing. You know what? I would be fine with 8. Kate suggested 8 in the chat. I'd love to hear anybody else.
Cool.
8 would be cool.
My choice would be 9.
Oh, that's fine. You know what? 9 is really due for a remaster because 9, don't mind my children having a full-on conversation while I'm doing my show. It's cool. So the 9, just because of the fact that it came out so close to the end of the PS1's life cycle, it definitely is due for a remaster. I think that would be a really cool one. 8 I would like because it would be the same kind of situation as with 7. Like maybe I could actually understand the game.
Oh, see, I enjoy it, and I will say on the PS1, 8 and 9 look 100 times better than 7 ever did. So those ones are way easier to go back to and play in their current state.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Jeremy is saying 6 because there's so many well-written characters. Here's the problem with 6, Jeremy. It's just too much. That game is too big for this. It would take a million years to put this game out. Like 50 characters in there. Like maybe they could do 6, but only if you. But they would have to cut down characters. I think 6 is just asking too much.
I think 6 would be great. It would give me. I would love to go back and play 6. I have a copy of 6 on SNES, and when I bought it and found out after 8 hours, it erases my save every single time.
Oh, so you got a broken one.
Yeah, I need to change a battery, but I don't trust myself in opening it up.
Well, it's on the SNES Classic.
I do have that. I should just fire up. But too many games.
Too many games. You are darn right about that. Okay, so okay.
All right.
So now let's move on. We got some WoW news. I told you that and you immediately fell asleep in our pre-show meeting. So I'll just go there. The next expansion is called World of Warcraft Shadowlands, and in it, the players will cross the threshold into the land of death, the void that you go into whenever your character dies. I think that is very interesting. I have no idea why they're going there, other than because it is design space that they have not explored. The thing that they shared with us as we get ready for whenever the new expansion is supposed to come out, which is apparently sometime later on this year, is there are going to be 4 factions in that new world, and you will be joining one of those factions, and it will actually give you character abilities or spells. One of them will be specific to that faction, and the other one will vary depending on what class you're in, which I think is actually very cool. And they will have interesting gear transmogrification sets and stuff like that themed depending on them. So like one of them is basically like aligned with angels, and one of them is the wilderness guys, and then they got the evil shadow demon guys. I don't know. It looks really interesting. They showed off some of the character models, some of the armor sets. We're going to find out more. So what it means is if you're going to really want to explore like all the story and all some of the game mechanics with that, you're going to need 4 characters at the level cap. If you play World of Warcraft, I highly encourage you to go in and play right now and level up some of your lower level characters, because double experience is broken. You can just level so quick right now. So yeah, that's it for World of Warcraft. Are you awake, Jeff?
I'm here.
All right, good. Okay. Now let's talk about stuff that you actually care about. What do you think about them canceling WWE 2K21?
Well, if it ends up anything like 2K20 did, I'm glad they're at least trying to redo things.
Yeah, it was a hot mess.
Figure out where they went wrong. I mean, I was telling you in our pre-show meeting, 2K20, I bought it. I can't return this one because I bought it digitally. But it's the first one I've completely hated since WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008.
Which was a long time ago, by the way, everyone.
Which was a long time ago, yes. I I buy these games every year. I enjoy them. If you listen at the beginning, I'm a wrestling fan. I have been for a long time. I enjoy playing my storylines, making who I want to be champion. But this game just did not allow me to do any of that.
Yeah. I mean, so hopefully they take some time off. Now, an interesting part of the report where they talked about how this game was canceled is that there's going to be another WWE game coming out this year that will be a kind of a palate cleanser, and it will be smaller in scope and quote-unquote not what we expect. Jeff, what do you think that game is going to be?
It's hard. They've done the smaller scopes. I mean, back when THQ had the license, they've done, the Legends of WrestleMania where they picked, just like 30 superstars from WrestleMania past. They did they did like the Arcade Fighter back then. So I don't know what they could do that we would not expect. I mean, now if you have your phone, you have a Match 3 WWE game. You have a card battler WWE game. It's like they've hit almost the only genre they're missing is an RPG. So
listen, I would 100% play a turn-based professional wrestling RPG. So this is what I would dream of, because there was a time where NetherRealm made a arcade like a fighting game for mobile, WWE Immortals.
Oh yeah, I do remember that game.
All the guys were like, their gimmick was like turned into their like fighting game persona, and they were given superpowers to go along with it. So like it was the Demon Kane, and he was like literally a demon, etc. Right?
Yes.
The Rock was literally like a golem made of stone, stuff like that. NetherRealm, they make a couple of good fighting games by the names of Mortal Kombat and Injustice, and I would absolutely love it if they made a legit fighting game that was WWE superstars, but like their weird personas, but it was just a legit fighting game. I would absolutely love it, and I think it's perfect. Rather than making it like a wrestling game, just make it 2 life bars and you get to do your finisher at the end. I would absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think it was like WWE Superstars that you had that THQ did. And like, I remember.
But I want it to actually be good.
Actually be good? Yeah, I didn't. I mean,
because if NetherRealm did it, it would be good. NetherRealm makes good video games.
Yeah, I'm not keen on 1v1 fighting games. I'm not good at them, so they're not my style.
I'm horrible at them. I just think this would be great. But
I loved the, kind of the simulation type game style of the SmackDown versus Raw series. I have many of them on my shelf back there because, as I said, a few of them been lost over the years, but so I just hope they do get back up on their feet because, and I mean, even like these young up-and-coming wrestlers, I mean, it's cool to finally see yourself in a video game. I'm just sad for when 2K20 was a first game certain wrestlers were in to see them in that way.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, to the point that the wrestlers on Twitter were saying, I do not look like this.
We are currently in the throes of sending some kids to bed. So if you hear the general encouraging that is what is up right now. They got a little bit of a pass, and normally we'll let them stay up until after the EFG show is done because they are home and it's break. But the EFG show running late because we started late because we had to accommodate the Disney sing-along. So the general had a question that she wanted me to propose to the audience, and so I'd love to hear people's thoughts in the comments. Specifically, she wanted to know like what people were doing about screen time, if anything, and how they're balancing screen time now that everyone is stuck in the house, because we obviously can't go anywhere. Oh, we got a kid sneaking on down. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear people's thoughts in the comments. Like, how are you handling it, Jeff? What are you doing? I mean, obviously your daughter doesn't play a lot of games.
No, so she has. It's actually kind of cute. She has an Amazon Fire tablet we bought her with, like the kid protector on it.
Oh yeah.
She calls it her baby games because that is the first ever game she got downloaded on it was some game about a baby.
Sure.
So it has been dubbed her baby games.
Sure. That sounds great.
Before this whole, lockdown situation, she was only allowed to play on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and for a couple hours. Okay. I will be honest, we have been letting her play more because she's 4. She's going stir crazy. It's hard for her to understand why we're all locked in the house. Why isn't she going to swimming? Why isn't she going to school?
Yeah.
So we've been letting her play a little more just to, to ease her tension up a bit.
I totally get it. We did get a comment from Kate. She says, for us, screen time during school hours has to be educational, and the preschooler does educational screen time with Kate. And so when it's, and then she left the next comment that I will add in there. When it's outside of school hours, it's their normal rules and limits. So they basically just make a little bit of change during the school time. I can totally get down with that.
Yeah, it's a bit different. She goes because both my wife and I are still working.
Yeah.
We are doing some work from home, so we actually take her over to Grandma and Grandpa's because we would not be able to get work done.
Yeah.
We also work in the healthcare field, so you have to watch all things HIPAA.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think a 4-year-old's going to give people's, personal health information away. It's just like, you'd rather be safe than sorry. You never know when you'll get someone who'll be mad about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you're on the phone and they hear a kid in the background. I totally get that.
Yeah, but if she can just pop on to the computer screen because she wants something, it's hard to. So we do. So at least she gets out of the house to go, and her and Grandpa take their daily walks together.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. So we did get a comment from Allison. Allison, thanks for watching the EFG show and commenting.
Oh, that's one of my coworkers.
Oh,
so.
Hi, Allison. I was like, who's this lady? Good to know. Thanks for watching. So she says, I make sure that each time I eat, I don't have my phone in my hand. It's phone or food, and I always pick food. I think that's a really good point. The idea that it's really up to us to try and set an example for our kids. I will say, last weekend I definitely did not set a good example for my children, but that was because it was for work. It was for here, right? But definitely this coming weekend, I'm going to have to balance it out a little bit, and at the very least, play more with them. Oh, Kate with more comments. They're rolling in, loving the engagement from the audience today. She says our youngest does some of his speech therapy with assistance from apps and such, so they can't really limit it, but we balance it with movement, music, art, etc. I will say this much: knowing the Davis family as much as I do, they absolutely do a great job of balancing and kind of making it so that the video games are not running the show, which is a challenge, just like it is for us, because they have so many of them. As both Kate and Jeremy are huge video game fans, they do a remarkable job of trying to keep that balance. So I certainly show some respect to them, and I really like Allison's point, the idea of not just shoving your face in your phone while you're trying to fit food in your face. It's a good, we have to set examples. And like I said, I didn't set a great example. I put in way too many hours of Final Fantasy last weekend, but I wanted to be able to talk about it in an educated way for our content. And what I didn't want to do, it was, work, but it was for work. And fortunately, my wife was gracious enough to give me that time. Also, I think it didn't hurt that she was spending time cleaning up hers and her daughter's Animal Crossing island. So she that has been a thing. Hold on, everybody. I have to mute myself because we have a teenager coming down. So bear with me a moment. Okay, so what? Then go lie down on my bed.
No, you can stand in the hallway for a minute and go to bed. Go. I'm not fighting bedtime. Go to bed. It is an hour past when you should have gone to bed.
Kate also says the first thing in the morning on the weekends is when they will occasionally just let them do their own thing. Our youngest has a Kindle Fire tablet. Yeah, and Kate, as I said, my daughter has a Kindle Fire tablet, and they're great. There's plenty of great games, though she doesn't understand that she can't just download every single game they show to her because she runs out of space really quickly with that.
Oh, I wasn't muted? I thought I muted myself. Well,
I mean, I didn't hear anything on your end. I don't know. We're on different mics, so I can still talk when he mutes himself, Jeremy, if that's what you heard.
well, we're doing this live, folks. I thought I muted myself in Skype, but I guess I did not. They're fighting bedtime, and apparently the youngest let out a really raucous fart that really just freaked out the older one. The middle one specifically. The littlest one is long asleep, but the middle one used biological warfare apparently, and the older brother is. And so I was like, just stay in a separate room until we can figure this out. But the general was disinterested in that plan, and I don't argue with her. So, okay. So I think that those are some good answers in regards to screen time and balance. So let's just get to the fun stuff. One last news story, and and this is kind of gamers doing good stuff. So we are big fans of Games Done Quick here on Engaged Family Gaming. We think they do great work. We know some of the streamers are somewhat problematic, but on the whole, the Games Done Quick program raises a lot of money for charity and really kind of gives a platform to some really talented speedrunners in the speedrunning communities for some really great games. And so they have officially delayed Summer Games Done Quick. Normally it is in the early summer. They've actually delayed it and moved it to the end of August, and it's possible that it might even be getting switched to a digital-only event. They're not sure. It depends on local government and, the whole COVID-19 thing. However, to raise money for COVID relief, they are going to run COVID Relief Done Quick, which is actually starting tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the first speed run is at noon, and that's Donkey Kong Country. And so they expect that game to be, it's a 101% run, and it's going to take about an hour. So that is worth it. If you've got time for lunch, hop on over to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick, and you can watch a very talented speedrunner run Donkey Kong, and you have not seen a game. That is one of the coolest looking speedruns that you can do. And then they have a full schedule all weekend. This is not going to raise as much money as any of their other events. I think it's possible that since it's condensed and there's a lot of people really talking about it, it might break 1 million. I think that would be really interesting, but it's not going to challenge the other ones. But they have a full weekend schedule, and it goes until Sunday. The end is at about 11 o'clock at night. The grand finale is at 5:40 or 5:50 is Super Metroid 100% run, followed by Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Remix Critical Mode any percent, which is going to take about 3 hours. So they're going to beat Kingdom Hearts 2 in 3 hours.
In the hardest difficulty.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're going to break the hell out of that game, man. So if you are realistically, head to gamesdonequick.com/schedule, and you can see the schedule of games. They are pretty close to spot on with the schedule every time they run it. And this is all going to be done digital. Normally it's done like in a big hotel with a big audience. This is going to be done from people's private stream setups. But it is, this is going to be a lot of this is actually going to be a really cool thing, and I can't wait to watch some of it. So we'll share some of the cool speedruns when they're done. And Jeremy in the comments saying Super Metroid is the best speedrun game ever made. I think that might be a little hyperbolic, but I don't think he's wrong. I think Super Metroid is just really cool looking when it is being run fast. Jeremy, my favorite speedruns are always the Mega Man speedruns. And for me to say, so I love it watching Mega Man X races. Love it, because that game is just so cool looking when you move fast. So, Jeff, would you believe me if I told you that that was one more episode of the EFG show?
I would believe it.
Because we did it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Allison, for joining us tonight. That was cool. I mean, if you've watched before and just didn't comment, I didn't. I apologize if I didn't speak to you before, but nice to meet you. Kate, Jeremy, thank you for joining us. Everybody else, thank you very much for watching us. This is Steve and Jeff. We're going to sign off, and we will see you next week. But until next time, don't forget
to get your family game on.
We'll see you guys soon. Bye now.
Yep, bye.